And we are live. We are 3 seconds in. We have 0 viewers. Give it a second.
This failed, man.
Just want to say hello to everyone joining. It's live with LunarCRUSH. And today we're going to be talking about all sorts of things. We're going to be talking some coins because we can. We're going to be talking fitness, motivation. We got Ryan Calder here, one of our good buds. Ryan, when did we bump into you? When did we meet you? I mean, it was like some conference somewhere. We were just like friend to friend, just ran into you, and man, your energy, your motivation, you've got the stoke, and I think we all appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to be in LA when I started learning about Bitcoin and crypto. And, LA is millions of people and there's a lot of great relationships here. And one of the best meetings I've ever had was actually with John first through the Crypto Dog was in town. And I kind of latched myself on to the Crypto Dog for a little bit at that moment. Still today, Crypto Dog is one of my favorite people for sure. But thankfully that friendship led me to meeting John. And then once I learned about LunarCRUSH, I couldn't even believe that was already being developed. And, you guys are just so good people. And it was really actually, I was fortunate enough to meet you before you launched LunarCRUSH. And getting to know the both of you. And when you still had your day jobs, you're just so both highly respectable, accomplished professionals that I really strive to be around the best people I can. So when I learned about the both of you, I just kind of latched on. And when I would see you at the conferences, you would be the first people that I would seek out. And I've just watched you execute every single thing you said you were going to do. And I'm just happy to be friends with you both.
Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate that. I mean, it's been a fun ride getting to know you, and you're always kind of flying into the DMs, always all over the place, doing all sorts of things. I mean, you're trading, you're posting some TA once in a while. It's like, I don't know how much you want to dive into some of the other stuff, but I would just maybe tell us a little bit about how you got into it, how you found it, crypto in general, what made you, how did you get excited about it just to start? And then we can maybe go from there.
Yeah. So I was in my early 30s. I got I was a personal trainer, and it's a good living, especially here in LA. Your base is about 100 an hour. It's a great life, but I still wanted something a little bit more. So I took a stab at selling some of these multi-million-dollar homes. Got a real estate license, and the commission checks were pretty fat. Every couple of months, I was getting about $30,000 to $50,000 a month. Every couple of months, really.
Nice.
And it just sat in the bank. And so once everything kind of leveled out in my life, after a few years of kind of running around with, a chicken with no head, I was able to take a step back and look at my finances and level up again, and started looking for ways to invest. And I came across Bitcoin. And I read it for a second. I watched it for about a week. And I think it went up like 20% in a week, and it just kind of kept bringing me in a little bit. And so then eventually I threw like 10 grand at it, and I watched my 10 grand go to like 22,000, and it was crazy. And then I started saying, well, what the hell is Ethereum? What is all this other stuff? And then before I know, it was like the holidays, and all I was doing was paying attention to crypto. So it was, mid 2017. And I just, started, I have a Federal Reserve background, the history of our money and things like that. And once I started really understanding what Bitcoin was with the distributed ledger and all this other stuff that we all know about now, and the lid came off when I really started understanding that if this does truly become money, you cannot stop it. Yeah. So I just went all in. I started seeing all the people that wanted to be here. Half the people here have never started their own business before, never had any real, everyone's just jumping in passionately. And, I wanted to support those people. And there's just, this space is so new. Everyone needs help. And so I just saw how much help was needed. And I wanted to find the best people to help. And again, being in LA, there was a lot of that. And, you know, Joseph and Alon are incredible people that really brought everyone together, where I was able to meet more people and just piece some things together. And, you know, even Blockchain Beach really gave us a home for a little while here in LA. And it's just been a very exciting time. And now, having been here for a couple of years, you guys are leading the way. You guys are showing us exactly how to move forward and what to look at and piece things together and what to pay attention to, and I love it.
I appreciate that, man. I really do.
There's a little
curious, what was your tipping point with Bitcoin? Can you hear me?
We can. You're just a little delayed.
Okay, so I went for a jog this morning. I came back. My neighbor walks by, and he kind of vaguely knew what I do, knew I had a startup, knew it was something to do with crypto, because I was on KTLA a week ago, and his son shared the link with him because our kids know each other. And he goes, "What is it you do?" And then we started talking about Bitcoin. And he goes, "Well, how much is Bitcoin?" And, you know, he was still on the level of like, "Wait, you mean I can buy less than one Bitcoin? Wait, how do I do that? You mean like there's like 8 decimals? Wait, what? What's a Satoshi?" We started going down this rabbit hole, and then he got all interested. And I'm just curious, what was your tipping point, given your background, history of money and all that? What exactly was it that got you into Bitcoin?
It was when I realized what peer-to-peer means. When I realized that no borders, nothing can stop it. If there are enough miners and peer nodes running the network, you cannot censor Bitcoin. And it could be used in any type of transaction that's unstoppable. So for me, you know, I'm not an economic major. You know, there's always going to be a fiat currency per country, potentially. That's fine. But as far as us interacting with the internet and having our own way to transact, that's the next piece. When I understood that, I immediately went all in on it. I need to pay attention to what's happening with this. And, you know, I'm still struggling with greed, but I feel like I'm a little balanced now. You know, there is a part of me, I still make my jokes, right? I'm in a casino sometimes and I'm just gambling, and I like the rise in USD, but the real heart of it is paying attention to the peer-to-peer aspect of what we're creating amongst ourselves.
No, that's great.
That makes sense.
And it's like,
yeah.
Well, Ryan, I feel like, you know, we, like, as a couple of people that have dove headfirst into the industry, started to create a business, you know, would you kind of self-describe yourself almost as like, seems like you're almost like a very good connector of people. And it's like, maybe it's your EQ, like very high, like understanding these two people, how to connect those people. And because it's not, I mean, everyone knows a lot of people. You're not always introing everyone to everyone at all times, but there are times where you find out like, hey, these two people would really get along. I think there'll be a lot of synergy between them. And I mean, do you think that comes pretty natural to you? Is that something that you find yourself attempting to do, or is it just something that you get energy off of?
Thank you. It's exactly who I want to be.
Okay.
It's you know, if we were playing on a basketball team, brother, I would be passing you the ball at the right time. And I would, if the ball is in your hands, I'm trying to be exactly on in the place on the court that best suits you with the ball so that our team can win. That's all this is about. So, you know, when I examine your intentions, I try to grasp and absorb what you're building, and then I take that with me. And, you know, you just kind of, especially when you have something as incredible as like an LA blockchain summit, and you have, you know, and I'm not trying to purposely sell anything. You know, Alon and Joseph have absolutely done a great job with LA Blockchain Summit. And when you're in that environment, there's just so much potential. So I'm looking for who is the real McCoy, who are the genuine people. And there's enough of that in this space, and incredible things can be done with it. And it's easiest when you have a natural player, when you have someone who truly wants to be there to be there. And both of you can go into any industry and absolutely be the best in that industry. You've already done that. And so now that you're in crypto, your intent with what you're doing here, it doesn't get better than you guys. And so it's easy when you find other similar people to bring them together. Like, that's the most rewarding thing I'm ever going to do with my life, is create more love.
Appreciate that.
That's great.
Appreciate that.
That's
a lot.
awesome.
Yeah. I'd say that's also, almost the premise of LunarCRUSH. Like, we're trying to find, the genuine projects with genuine following and genuine engagement from real people. None of this pump and dump. And if it is a pump and dump, we also want to track that too. We also want to track if there's no one talking about a project. I mean, you might be surprised. There's now, I think, 5,500 projects, 5,500. And, it's interesting because there's we've been doing some more polls on our Twitter lately, and did one this morning. And, there's a range of people in this space, all the way from Bitcoin maximalists. There is Bitcoin and only Bitcoin. There will be nothing else. There is one thing and that's it. There's that level of individual out there. And then there's I day trade 19 times a day on 9 different exchanges, and I'm just trying to constantly spin up profits. Don't care what's real, what's fake. Don't care. I care about candles. And so there's this range of individuals out there. And, but when you look at the actual projects and the ongoing, development and evolution of them, if you don't see anyone talking about these things, if you don't see genuine conversations going on, safe to say there's not much happening. That is a really bad investment beyond maybe a day trade. So, we're hoping that we can kind of uncover some of that and bring some confidence in a new way.
You have for me. I love it. You guys are only getting better too. It makes my life so much easier to go and see the social engagement on something. It's incredible. Like, you have expedited ever since you and I first met, when you talked to me about everything that you had to build in order to streamline everything that I have to do too. We all, at least for me, the fire hose, right? When you first step into crypto, you want to expand beyond Bitcoin. You start taking a look at everything everyone's talking about. You end up following some crazy ass account called Fungus Cat or some shit. And, he's talking about some random coin. And then you got to pay attention to who's talking in the thread. Then you follow the rabbit hole and everything. Now I can just go to LunarCRUSH, pay attention to the coin of the day or the alt rank, or, and you can just follow the social engagement, and I can see what is trash and what's not.
It's funny, Joe, this is like our conversation earlier where, you're on the receiving end of a lot of like the DMs and the chats on our site. And there are individuals that think that they can actually I'll just hook up the Twitter API and I'll build what you guys have. And it's the equivalent of, I see where you're at right now. It's the equivalent of me saying I can walk into the gym and just immediately get totally ripped. It's so much work. So, as I might work out, but I'm going to go to In-N-Out right after. I'm going to get about 5 or 6 double doubles, and I'm not going to gain any weight, right?
Although those double doubles sound so good right now.
That's true. That does sound good.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta train the mind to know where to get the proper dopamine release. Yeah, when you walk into the gym, you gotta be able to make sure that your biomechanics are perfect, and your time under tension, and you're training the muscle depending on what your goals are. The 3 different phases. There's so many things to it. But I think also when I'm on LunarCRUSH, I know where it comes from. I know so you've already kind of trained me in how I look at each coin. If I've never heard of it before and I pull it up on LunarCRUSH, I see everything, and literally it saves me fucking hours. Mm-hmm. It tells me everything I want to know in 20 minutes.
Well, I'll also tell you that as you dive deeper in that and you're like finding a coin that you are interested in, the next step, if you're really going to start engaging in that community, is like, well, who exactly is legit in this space that I should be talking to? And so we keep track of those influencers. And so, you know, at a minimum, if you're just going on our site and finding, hey, who should I follow for this coin? And I don't just mean even today, like who's constantly putting the hard work in over the last like 6 months, and then we'll rank those people. And those are the people posting good stuff about each project. So I think that's another important piece, because, you know, we don't pretend to say that, oh, well, we're going to replace all these places that people go, like Twitter. I mean, we bring it in and we organize it, but it's like, you know, when you are on Twitter constantly, probably, and posting stuff, it's like, you know, who exactly do you want to see in your feed every day? You know, you really, truly don't want to be led the wrong direction. And it can be annoying. I've made that mistake in the past. When I first started investing, it's like I'm buying and selling based upon things that are just the dumbest things that I'm seeing. And I wasn't even realizing I was doing it.
You're going to save a lot of people. You're going to save a lot of people from doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal.
For sure. It's a real service. So can we start by talking about Zilliqa? No? You want to?
We could start talking about whatever you want.
We could talk Zilliqa, or how about we start with Bitcoin, since it's such a big Bitcoin week. And let's move into so we posted earlier, we said that we cover a few different projects, but I think because there's this shift going on with Bitcoin, I just want to show some things going on. Joe's my screen sharing. I can't see.
You got it. You're up.
You got it. So
let's just make sure your SMS is off like last time, so that I can't mess with you. When your wife starts texting you, when are you done? Dinner needs to be your turn to cook dinner.
It is actually. So when you look at Bitcoin, you know, one of the things that we've noticed here that's real interesting here. So this is the last year, and we track social contributors. And when you look at Bitcoin, I mean, if I went a year ago, and we were all here a year ago, this is how small the space was. This is real. We verified this a lot. When you look at the individuals posting on a daily basis a year ago, it was like 6,000 people, 7,000 people. And it's moved up throughout the last year, 20, 30, 40. We had this spike, and, you know, you might think that's the halving, but that was like, I think the halving was right here, I think, right in here. But this was a post from Cash App that got a bunch of mainstreamers to start talking about Bitcoin on social channels, and we captured that. So mainstream posts from Cash App are a big deal that mention Bitcoin. And this isn't social engagement or anything. This is actually genuinely people posting about Bitcoin. And so that's a big deal. The other thing here, which also is fascinating, this was the Twitter hack. And the Twitter hack, you know, it actually drove 343,806 people that day to talk about Bitcoin. When you consider on a normal basis, like just go right in here, it's 30,000 people, 40,000 people, 30, you know, in that range. That's a really big deal. And then just to zoom in over, let's go to the last like month here.
Yeah, before just real funny. What about the fiction writer, the lady?
J.K. Rowling.
Remember that?
I do. Yeah. And she was showing up as like the top influencer for those days because she has a mainstream audience of,
it was great,
60 million people. Yeah. And then she did it with Ethereum, and no one said she's an expert, but what that did do was that did drive, I mean, it drove a bigger chunk of the world really to see Bitcoin, to talk about it, to post upon it. And you know, you could say, well, maybe that doesn't have everything to do with buying, but it has everything to do with awareness and getting that bug and doing some research. And what is this thing? What is
Bitcoin? Right.
And we talked about that, John, with like last week a little bit, where, you know, I know it was a hack, but, you know, when Kanye West and Apple and Uber, you know, and Barack Obama and Joe Biden are simultaneously tweeting about something, I mean, that's not even an ad buy that's even possible from an awareness standpoint. And so, you know, it's J.K. Rowling, same thing. Like, how much would it cost Coca-Cola to pay J.K. Rowling to start tweeting about Coca-Cola? like $1 million, $5 million, like a ton. And so it's like when you combine all of those things, it's like that awareness level on something that is organically happening is just, it's on a completely different plane.
And do you find it odd that here was the hack? Look at what's happened since. And you know, when we're talking about it on a daily basis, and I've been saying lately, well, wow, the crypto community is talking to themselves, because it's the same number, roughly speaking. It's up, it's down, it's roughly 20,000-ish individuals. And there's more posts. This is just individuals each day. When you look at this and then look what's happened since, and our volume here, I mean, we were averaging 20,000 something, and yesterday we were almost 80,000. There was no hack. We did go up a bit. I wouldn't call this earth shattering. If you've been in Bitcoin a while, great move, important move, not huge. This is small, historically speaking, but it's
what did
because of where it is.
Social engagement look like over that same time period?
So again,
huge.
This is not top level posts. This is comments, retweets, all sorts of information that like isn't just that top level post. So yes, you could say it was hacked, but look what happened. People
looks like it. Like, that looks like one of our social engagement pumps on some like altcoin that's market cap number 180. I mean, that's literally what that looks like.
And this is Bitcoin, and
yeah, it's Bitcoin.
You know, you go to social volume, and I mean, let's just look at 6 months. In 6 months, there's been what 22 million social mentions for Bitcoin, and as big a number as that is, that's small. We have a long ways to go.
How long ago? I think it was maybe like 4 or 5 days ago, where everybody jumped on I did too, on the news about banks legally being able to custody Bitcoin and crypto.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's happened the last, like, I think that was last Friday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah,
I recall.
Which that's huge news, and it's, you know, it's kind of crazy that they couldn't before, but when you think about it, it is now, you know, the custody from a banking standpoint. I mean, when you think about someone like Cash App, where they're pulling down $300 to $400 million a quarter now, I think in profit. It might be revenue though. I got to double check that one, but that's a huge number for someone that's just on ramping right now. And that's all these banks are just leaving cash on the table. And so I think it's great for the competition in the market. It's going to be great for the consumer because, you know, just like Robinhood has zero trading fees, eventually all of these exchanges are going to need to get there. And so it's no more, hey, Coinbase, you know, you're paying $100 to $200, depending on what the buy is, to get your Bitcoin. It should be free. And so that's going to happen. That's going to happen.
There's another hidden move in here, and then let's maybe talk about some alts. But you know, this space in here, this first kind of move in Bitcoin, a lot of it sucked out of alts. And when you looked at what was going on, I mean, you know, it pulled out of Zilliqa, it pulled out of VeChain, it pulled out of Band and Anchor and all these different coins, right? Litecoin at first didn't take this lightly. And then what happened here, I noticed about this time yesterday, all of a sudden alts stopped making new lows. And so what you had was, it was almost like it was this like initial reaction of like pulling money out of alts. They've had some decent moves. Some of these have been up a lot, especially in the DeFi space. And then all of a sudden Bitcoin flew again in the afternoon, right around 3:00, and the alts did not make new lows. So I thought that was a really big deal. And I went, oh man, okay. So we're starting to get somewhere with alts, and we're going to start to see some moves. And today we're seeing some coins rise. In fact, even if I look here on markets.
And that made you basically determine that it's new money, right?
I mean, look, you can't tell. We'd have to do some deeper analysis on our end, but like it's certainly not just pulling from the same bucket. And that looks like, you know, yes, it looks like the alt's not falling anymore. And it looks like the social volume being way up. I'd say another metric here, the social volume on a 24-hour rolling basis, on average, roughly has been about 200,000 posts a day. And Bitcoin tends to take about a little more than half of it. And so when we see that that's up to 337, we're seeing that there's more people posting talking about more, and the number of individuals doing those posts is also increasing. That is huge. That is enormous. That is the equivalent of saying, hey, there's a lot more Bitcoin wallets. Hey, there's a lot more people setting up Coinbase accounts. There's all these numbers that you look at, but this is a big one, because when we look just again over the last year, roughly it's been 200,000. So the chatter's up. And I'd say, like, when you look here, I mean, some of these moves are huge. This is just the last 24 hours. Band Protocol's up 16, Kava 23, Syscoin 38. These are ranking really well in our alt rank.
Yeah,
yesterday it was ranking well. So because it's Bitcoin was outperforming the alts. So pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, I need to get home and make sure that I take a look at Solana and Litecoin and really decide today what I'm going to do about those two.
Yeah, I mean, Litecoin's had some interesting moves. I'll pull that one up yesterday.
I saw you guys posted about it.
Yeah, I mean, historically, when we look back, I mean, we've been in this game a long time. We've seen that Litecoin tends to lead and or outperform Bitcoin when it moves. There's a lot of scenarios, if you look back, that you see these big spikes in Litecoin when Bitcoin's standing still. And if that happens, you should certainly take note.
Absolutely.
So pretty crazy stuff. Up 23%.
Yeah, it does seem that Litecoin, for at least a time period there, was front running almost, where there'd be some sort of movement and then suddenly Bitcoin would just take off. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like Litecoin was always moving, but this time it almost seemed to happen, maybe in inverse a little bit. But you'd have to think that, some of that new money coming in was being spread out just a little bit, because, these people that are coming in and they've got a friend or someone that's telling them and they're saying, hey, grab some Bitcoin and then maybe grab like whatever else is in Coinbase. And it seems like that, at least in the US, and Brian's nodding his head. That's like kind of the advice that people get. And then they get down the rabbit hole and, the enthusiasts, and then they find sites like us at LunarCRUSH or anyone else or CoinGecko. They're finding these cool sites and they're discovering just a little bit more.
I'll go out on a limb. I think Tezos is the new Litecoin. I'm finding myself talking to all my friends about Tezos versus everything else.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Tezos moves. It moves in its own way. I don't think there's another coin that I could say moves exactly like Tezos moves. I mean, there's almost in the past we've seen this rotation between Bitcoin and Chainlink and Tezos, where they tend to kind of move independently. But if you just look at the chart of Tezos, it definitely has its own like beat that it's moving to right now. I mean, it just did a big move at random and then it sits still, and it hasn't really moved down that much. It's like 290 or something right now, 280 something. Where are we at here? 286.
285 for a little bit.
Do you guys remember the price that Charlie Lee sold at?
Yeah.
Off the top of your head?
He did great. He was like
he did great. Yeah.
He's a good dude. He was honest.
I got no problem.
I agree with you.
I mean, I think it's like part of the secret sauce, obviously, with Bitcoin, outside of, how decentralized it is, and it's the largest and a lot of people building on top of it, is the fact that Satoshi is either no longer with us or has the discipline of a monk times 5,000, which I don't think a human being has that ability. So I think that, unfortunately, that whoever that person is probably passed away. But I think it's part of the secret sauce around what makes it so special. So maybe Charlie was trying to emulate that a little bit and say, I'm getting out of this. Just to, I don't know. That's kind of my thought about it. I think why potentially did that, but I've never met him.
Okay, I have. I've met him a few times, and he is very down to earth. No bullshit, in my opinion. But he literally said, "This is the top. Like, we're not going higher. I'm selling." He said that. He's like, "We're in for a really shit 2 years." I'm okay with that, But he was also like, as someone who's representing Litecoin, it just, some people take the HODL Litecoin shirt that he was wearing, something like that, a little too far. And, this is a very aggressive space. But there's also these people with these like earliest Bitcoin wallets writing messages, Craig Wright is a fraud. Like, why haven't you spent that Bitcoin? They're holding it.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You know, did you see, I think Matt Odell is one of my favorite Bitcoiners for sure. One of my favorite people in the space, period. Really cool guy. But he just retweeted, he's only stacking sats. He's not selling any of his Bitcoin. He's going to start spending Bitcoin when gasoline is priced in sats.
I like that.
So, okay.
That's a crazy perspective.
I think that's good.
Considering
though.
it's
creating it's creating a currency. It's creating something that's spendable versus something that's purely being held. It's a next level thing for Bitcoin to get there. I don't know if it's going to be, people are still just buying and holding. I mean, I'm not, especially if you're in the space and you're someone that understands and you have some. I mean, when you're going to Starbucks, you're paying with fiat. You're trying to pay with fiat no matter what.
Well, I think nobody wants to be the pizza guy. So, it's like, isn't that like a weird economic thing where we're seeing, the difference between deflation and inflation? I'm not an expert. I don't know how to talk about, what do you have when you have a deflationary asset? Do you actually spend that? Why would you ever spend that? Like, isn't that kind of weird? But we don't need to talk about that here, but it's like, it's kind of interesting.
Well, but
no, I mean, we talk about all the time.
Massive adoption. That would just require a level of adoption that is so far beyond where we are today, and it almost requires Bitcoin to act like a stable coin, in a, at least to a degree. And I'm not saying it like almost more like more like that like it's not gonna get chopped in half in the next month kind of thing. Like it seems like you need to have 1,000x adoption from here for that to take place. And I mean, I don't think we're anywhere near that whatsoever. And I think that's also why DeFi has such an opportunity, because if you look at the fact that like, great, maybe I become Bitcoin rich. What am I going to do with it other than sell it to survive?
Yeah.
And so if you end up having this be a significant portion of your portfolio, again, back to your Tezos comment, I can hold it and earn 6%. I have Band Protocol up right now. I've got my, Atomic wallet. I see that you can get like, what is it, 16% or something in there by holding Band. I don't need to sell it. I just get these dividends. They keep coming, and they have different frequencies depending on how the staking works or the DeFi solution works. And it's like, we're just in this new paradigm where I almost think it feels like there's Bitcoin, there's altcoins, and then there's this new class of DeFi. And this DeFi class is something kind of, it's like the bank of crypto, where I can deposit my money and get a return and live off of it. Just as a rich person in fiat, like if I had $10 million and I just put it in some very safe securities that are in a bank, I'm going to get spun off some cash. No different. Other than this is a whole new thing in its infancy. And I just think that's where this gets real interesting, is like, I'm holding these things to actually work for me as income. But to spend, I feel like no matter which way you look at it, we're really far off. Like go back to when you got started in this, like I was like 2013, 2014, whatever. And I remember BitPay was around, and I'm like, people are like, I think it was Newegg and Dell computers. You could like buy stuff with Bitcoin. I'm like, wow, that's neat, but why would I do that? I mean, that was like way back. And here we are today in 2020, and we're having the same discussion. Yeah. 6 years later, 7 years later, whatever. And it's like, really?
Yeah. And I think in the US, it seems it's probably could be further off, especially if it remains, reserve currency, which I think it will for a certain amount of time. But I think in other countries where inflation could be 10 to 15% a month sometimes, and sometimes much more than that, those are, I think, the people that need to be early adopters. So it's like, even if Bitcoin goes from the 10K down to the 4,100 and comes back, that's extremely volatile, but it's still better than a 31% a month inflation rate in somewhere like Suriname or Ethiopia or, Sierra Leone. Like there are places where inflation is just debilitating to a point where it's like Bitcoin is a much better option than anything else they can be holding, and they need to be spending that fiat, and they're spending it as soon as they get it.
Well, it's about access, right? So like when McCormick went down to El Salvador or Venezuela, I think it was El Salvador, and they had the Bitcoin Beach guys. If you don't know about Bitcoin Beach, I think that is really phenomenal. It's in El Salvador. My wife is Salvadorian, so it kind of stood out to me. But there's a whole marketplace there where it's Bitcoin only. Everything is being sent to and from, bought in Bitcoin, and just not having to ask permission to live is what Bitcoin represents. And it's just like, I'm always going to go to that first. So, if it's, I think, we have to take care of each other and make sure that we're not trying to screw everyone over, basically doing what already kind of exists today. But, we have a real chance here. Have you seen the Electronic Frontier Foundation guy? Daniel Jones sent me a video when the internet first came out. The Declaration for Cyberspace. It's on YouTube, and I can't think of the guy's name, but basically the internet gave, cyberpunk, or whatever you want to call it, cyberpunk, the ability to really like take their lives to the next level in an autonomous way. And Bitcoin is the money of that. We're changing everything. We're two guys like yourself, amazing human beings with all the talent in the world, do not have to fit in an industry, succeed in that industry in order to have the impact you guys are having now. You have this whole new way to trailblaze and be a pioneer with something completely new and be exactly who you are from here and lead the whole world in a completely beautiful, powerful direction. You guys are completely uplifting this entire space. And that's where we're headed. We're not asking for permission. Get your shit together. We're going. LunarCRUSH. Let's go.
We're not asking for permission. That's going to be the new slogan. I'm not asking for permission, and no one is. And I think it was Tim Draper that was talking about this at the summits that he had, and I think people forget that countries have to be competitive too.
Yeah.
And countries are fighting, and they have niches, in the way that they do business, and tax rates are one of the ways that they stay competitive, and regulation and quick regulation. And, I think in the US here, they've been very slow. And, I obviously understand protecting consumers, and you want to protect people, especially from things like what happened in 2017 in this space. And we're fighting to protect people as well. And that's part of the thesis around why we exist. But if the United States doesn't start to figure out that a lot of the smart people in this country, especially with the landscape that's out there now politically, which I don't even want to get into that on this one, but it's like they're going to lose people, and they need to be competitive in the landscape because, we're only 330 million people. There's 8 billion other people out there, and there's competitive countries, and people are going to start to go to these other places if they want to stay competitive, especially when starting new businesses and, still getting access to the US market, which a lot of people have. So I think you're right. It's how do countries capture this too? And you see places like Estonia that created kind of the first, citizen e-identity. And what does that look like, and how cool is that? And then you're seeing places like Portugal with zero tax rate on crypto. You're even seeing a lot of people move to places like Puerto Rico, which sure don't have representation, but they have a 13 to 40% tax rate, and it's beautiful there. And there's creating communities, places in Central America. And then you've got places like California that if you are in the highest tax bracket, you're paying 55%. So it's a very interesting landscape when it comes to competitiveness and innovation. And when we're talking crypto, we're talking innovation, and the United States needs to capture that.
Yeah, I told my wife about Portugal. She's ready to go to Lisbon tomorrow. So how excited? I think the U.S. was the first to move on a stablecoin ability, right? I mean, you see Tether everywhere, and USDC, and there's just so many United States dollars, fiat coins. This India coin, how much volume is there on that? Once we see
which one?
I think it's the India stable coin. It's definitely on Binance. I think it's like IDST, something close to that, where you can trade into the Indian currency. But the United States dollar holds the stablecoin market pretty much. I think that is an interesting position that I think was purposeful.
I think it's an interesting discussion when a lot of the Bitcoiners they trash fiat currencies, they trash the U.S. dollar, yet we want to have a stable coin that's based on the U.S. dollar.
100%. Yep.
And I think it's great for almost like short-term things that require that kind of stability. But it seems like, well, why would I just hold dollars? It's nothing to hold as much as it's to trade in and out of, me trying to lock profits in before I go into another coin or whatever it is. It's a strange thing. And, it's sort of a, cloudy. It's a black box of like, how exactly does this stay stable across all of these different coins? Some are better than others. Some are more stable than others. A lot of these things are still fluctuating, whether it be between 98 cents to 103 a lot, or, and technically that's a taxable transaction if you're paying your taxes. So it's kind of a strange beast. It's a necessary evil in a way, because at the same time, we're trying to not be associated with any currency, yet it's such a big deal in terms of whether it be on-ramp or this kind of middle ground in between trading. So it's definitely necessary, I think, for exchanges and things like that. But the actual use of a stable coin, like to actually hold stable coins, maybe there's DeFi things there, but it's a tough one for me, at least. I just don't think it's not attractive. I don't know. I'd rather just be in regular dollars if I'm holding a stable coin, I guess, backed by the government. Yeah.
I do want to. What was that, Ryan?
Super successful professional who crushes it every single day and already has, but he has.
Yeah, I do want to step away from crypto for just a second, because you do have a tank top on and you are in a gym where you got some, I don't know, what do you got back there? Bench press. You've got, I mean, there's a mirror, so it could be, that gym could be like 10,000 square feet. I don't even know. But I want to know a little bit about maybe some of the people that you follow on a daily basis who are into fitness, into motivation, mindfulness. Who are some of those people? Why do you follow them? And what gets you excited about, what do they say that kind of makes you tick each day?
That's a great question.
Thanks. I just came up with it right now.
I never saw myself as somebody who might be a good signal in that regard. So to kind of take people who might be interested in fitness and health and what to look at and how to see the space, for me, I've been doing this for a while. It's always been my go-to. When I want to feel better, I work out, I change what I eat, and I really go after my daily lifestyle so that I can immediately get centered within myself. And then anything else I want to do in life, I just start doing it way better. If it's learning how to trade, if it's taking on that new job, if it's my marriage. So this is actually very key to who I am. From the physical standpoint, there's no one better than Jeff Cavalier. It's athleanx.com. The reason I say that is because he is a professional physical therapist. He has the experience working with $1 million athletes, but his work ethic is second to none. He puts out content every fucking day, and it's the best content. Now, when you start studying and you get certified with NASM or NSCM or ACE or any of the certifications, you learn different models of being able to take someone from scratch to professional, whatever. And everything I've learned through certifications, through other forms of education, Cavalier is the best. He's always right. He always brings up really interesting stuff while in a very quick way articulate the ability to educate you so you don't injure yourself, but then give you incredible exercises that will change your life. So Jeff Cavalier, athleanx.com. So much free content, but he also has the paid stuff. Takes care of that. Now, this year specifically for me, there's only one person that I pay attention to, and that's David Goggins. So that mindset, that heart, you have to do something that sucks every day. So if you don't want to go, work out for 2 hours, go work out for 3 hours. Like, be a little extreme. That's where I'm at. So if you want to really change your life, you gotta be a little more like David Goggins. So AthleanX for the education and how to train yourself, but how to be as a person, how to end up being your best, you gotta follow David Goggins. Try to achieve that. Now, just a few more things from that is there's Mobility WOD, Kelly Starrett. He wrote a book called The Supple Leopard. He gets a lot of respect, but he will break down anatomically, kinesiology. He'll break down a lot of things. Shit, I can keep going, to be honest. Dr. Eric Goodman, foundation training.
I want to know a little bit though about, so it's like finding that fire a little bit and finding that motivation. So what works for you, but what works for you a little bit? I mean, it's like right now, I mean, I'm not exactly sure how old you are, but you're probably somewhere around my age. Like, are you setting a goal for yourself? Like, are you setting like, hey, I want to hit this mile pace or this push-up pace? Or is it more along the lines of like, I need to just be every day. I need to be a little bit better. I need to be a little bit stronger. I get energy from working out. I get energy from feeling good, which I think that's the underlying tone. But are you setting goals each day or each month or each year to get to a certain thing? Are you doing a marathon? Are you doing swimming? Is there anything you're doing there that gets you going? Or is it like, hey, I just have a baseline,
Again, this is why you are an incredible human being. I do clear it up. I do have my goals. So it oscillates between two things. My macro goal for the year of 2020 is to run 3 marathons. I've never run long distance before, but I'm running 3 marathons in 2020. I'm probably going to end up running 4. I have my second one at the end of August, and my first marathon was in March, so I was training for that. I'm a personal trainer, so I have to get in shape. It's just what I do. I want my business card to be my body. And people listen to me more when I get in shape. They are not just hearing me talk. When they see that you're in incredible shape, they shut the fuck up and they do what they need to do when you're coaching. It's great. So I did my first marathon, and because I follow David Goggins this year, I email him once a day with an annoying video of me doing something. And so he called me, but he threw out this challenge of doing a 4x4 by 48. So he ran 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Man. It
happened to be the same weekend as my first marathon. So to get on his radar, I did. So I started Friday at 8 p.m. I ran with him on Instagram for 4 miles. And then every 4 hours that weekend, I ran 4 miles. And then I did my marathon on Sunday. And then I still had 4 miles to run after my marathon. So I did that too. So that experience pushing me way beyond I thought I could go. Now, every marathon that I do, the next 2 that I do this year, I have to do something stupid the same day. So this time I'm training for 1,000 pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. So I'm going to wake up in the morning, I'm going to do 1,000 of each, and then I'm going to go run a marathon.
What?
Wow. So now you've backed yourself into now a you can't just do the marathon thing. Like you've already backed yourself into a corner where you're screwed, where it's like, I have not exactly the same story, but I did run my first marathon. It was my sophomore year of college, and like it or hate it, I was in a fraternity and I was drinking probably too much that night. And it was 2 a.m. and someone bet me the Chicago Marathon. That was a Friday night. The Chicago Marathon was a Sunday. And someone's like, there's no way you can run the Chicago Marathon. And I was like, I can run I can run it. Like I can run without stopping. No problem at all. And so one of my friends worked at a bar or something. And so he was sober and we left at 3 a.m. We drove to Chicago. I went to Michigan State and, I slept for maybe an hour. And the next day I go to the Runners Expo. They always have an expo before the marathon. And I knew nothing about running. And I was like, hey, I want to sign up. And they're like, you're an idiot. They're like, people have been training for months. Some people, this is going to be the biggest thing they do in their life physically. You don't just walk up and get a bib. So I was like all upset. And like, there was a girl that was also running the marathon and I was trying to kind of impress her. And so I was like, hey, I'm just going to bring her like a Gatorade, which I'm like an idiot now running a couple marathons. I'm like, she doesn't need a Gatorade for me at 6 a.m. She obviously has her schedule. But anyway, I bring her this Gatorade and I did buy one of those white, very light runner's jackets before, like the day before. And so I had it on and I was in this crowd with her at the beginning to kind of shoot to go out. And I was like, I'm just going to try to run the first couple miles with you. So sure enough, like no one's stopping me. I've got my cell phone. And so I call my friend as I'm running. I was like, hey, meet me at the corner of Halstead or somewhere in Chicago. I'm going to give you my cell phone and like my wallet. I'm going to run the rest of this marathon.
What month?
This was I think this was in October. It was late in the year in Chicago. This was a long time ago, but I did. It was cool. And I finished it. And it was like, finishing that marathon and doing that, and this is like kind of leads into the question I want to talk to you about, of like, I felt unstoppable in everything in life after I did that, because your body can go so much further than you think it can go with regard to physicality. And it's like, you just have to push yourself, and it's mental, because your body and your muscles can actually take 10, 100,000 times more of a beating than you think they can. So it's for you now, you're stuck where you're like, I can't just run a marathon. I need to jump out of a plane and then race a horse and then run the marathon.
Yes. Nailed it. Did you run a marathon after that?
I did, because I didn't want it to be a hoax. And so I was like, I'm going to do one more. And I ended up running in Phoenix, like probably a year later with a friend. But it was actually much different. I trained a little bit. Actually, I don't know, it was the dry heat, and I'm from the Midwest. And so this is like Phoenix, it was hotter. It was way harder. I was like cramping the entire time. It was terrible, but I still never stopped, but it was still like one of the most painful things I've ever done. The first one was like, you're just so excited. And I saw a guy, maybe the last mile, I wanted to give up because you hit that runner's wall and you just start, your body's burning fat. It's not burning sugar anymore. And I saw this old guy and it said like age 70, marathon 70. And so he was 70 years old. This was his 70th marathon. I'm like, this guy, first off, he was in front of me. I was like, I got to beat him. And then it was like, holy shit, if that guy ran 70, I'm doing one, like I can't stop. I have to go. And so that was the marathon for me, which is exciting, but I would never even have contemplated running before or even after. I was like a stiff board. I was like sleeping in my loft in college.
Bro, I trained for at least 8 weeks for a marathon. I mean, God, I'm jealous.
You're making me look bad here.
John, you're a good runner too, though. I feel like you could do it. I
could. I've done 2 half marathons before, but I'm more of the like, I wake up in the morning and I've got my routine, and it's to like run down to the beach. I'll do 3 to 5 miles, and I'll go in my backyard. And then I'll do push-ups and sit-ups and jumping jacks and like jump rope and like that's on some days. And then other days I'm now doing yoga maybe 4 to 5 days a week.
That's great.
So yeah, like it's crazy. Like the Peloton app has been great. Yeah. And the app is great because I used to suck at yoga. I used to be terrible. but it's something about like, it's like stretching, but it's a mental, like it messes with you mentally. Like it's almost frustrating because it's like you're standing and just doing a thing. Like it's almost too slow, but it messes with your mind. You have to like step back a bit.
That's why I do it. That's why I really enjoy the endurance stuff. So when I did the 16 miles the other day, no headphones, no nothing. I mean, I was running along the coast. It was gorgeous.
Sure. Yeah.
But
It's amazing, man.
I'm with my own heart. And so when you have to stick it out and go beyond 20 minutes, go beyond 30 minutes, you know, it is, you know, when you're talking about doing yoga 4 to 5 days a week, there's a fucking priceless pride that comes with you. I watched it on your face just now.
Yeah.
Because of where you were pre that. Now you're doing it 4 to 5 times a week. And it's so, you know, enjoyable for you now for the most part, but it still requires a discipline on a daily level, on a daily basis, for you to put LunarCRUSH aside, to put responsibility aside, family aside, and get your 30 or 60 minutes in, because you're maintaining your life, your spirit. And
it takes effort though. It takes effort, man. And I mean, the crazy thing is that like, I know a lot of people right now that are doing nothing. They used to go to the gym, or they're literally too afraid to run down to the beach because they think they might get COVID, or like they don't go out anymore. I mean, there's a huge chunk of people that literally are just sitting home all the time. And I'm curious when this all eventually,
and I get it,
opens up. I mean, yeah, it's almost like you got to understand it, but it's like, damn, like people have no routine. They literally are just like, I don't know what people are doing. They're not walking. I don't see them out.
So I relate to that. You know, my background, yeah. I was a diehard alcoholic. I was going to jail on a regular basis. I have a different past, you know, than what I live today. And so I know what it's like to do absolutely nothing. And so today I just knew that I was going to have to get it in, right? I have to get it in. I have to. And so I'm really like Joe. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to fuck myself up. Right? Like I'm going to have some fun. So for the first time, I did 50 lunges in a row holding 70 pounds. I've never done that before. I killed it. You know, and I did a bunch of stuff afterwards. But before I go, like, you know, Jeff Cavalier and David Goggins, those are two aspects about who I am. The third aspect that's really important is the ability to be around greatness. So when I watched you guys leave your very successful professional careers in order to make this happen, this was nowhere to be found. You guys created this, and I watched you jump. I watched you form a lot of relationships and make decisions and take action. And it's the fucking unknown. It's grabbing your own spirit and believing in your own self entirely and knowing what you want to do. And then you just go create it. So I loved being around greatness. So in about 20 minutes, I'm going to go spend time with a really good friend of mine who's quitting drinking for like 6 hours. That's a big part of my day to day. I don't just stare at fucking charts. I don't, you know, I try to.
You do stare at charts though, sometimes.
Yeah, actually, what's crazy, hold on. You do a lot of crypto posts throughout the day.
Yeah,
it's shocking because I'm like, is he like? Does he have one arm on the pull-up bar as he's tweeting to TA about Litecoin or something?
I do.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
This community is difficult because once you start engaging with certain friends, I have probably 4 messages right now wanting to talk about where Bitcoin's going, or you know, what do I think about whatever. I'm like, fuck. You know, so I have to chart real quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I appreciate you saying that, man. And I think, you know, being an entrepreneur is difficult, but it's also sometimes it's just the only thing that you know. And it's when given the other, you know, the other side of what you're doing. It's, whether you're going to sit in a cube, and even if you're the best at what you do and you're creating a report, and that report's going to go to someone, and that person's going to send the report to someone for someone just to delete it. Like, that's happening to many people, and it's finding a passion. And, if you're exchanging time for a paycheck, that's fine. And that serves you sometimes. But if you want to get out and create and have autonomy and build, and it's on you, and that, if you're sleeping and you're not awake, things aren't happening. If you're out doing something else, it's not happening. But I like that we're having this conversation about fitness and motivation as well, because you do need to relax sometimes. You do need to recharge. And if you don't, you're not going to be at your best. And I think there are certain people out there, when you hear someone like Elon talk, it's too much. Yeah.
I think it's funny because we're at a point right now where we've been for the last 50 plus days, we add over 100 people following us on Twitter every single day.
You should.
There's been days we've had 250, and our signups, like last week we had just a huge record. Every week is basically higher than the last since we launched a year ago. And like, you look at the countries that are accessing our site, it just keeps broadening. And you look at the time on site, it just keeps going up. Our bounce rate keeps going down. And so we've set these benchmarks, and we're looking at it all. And it's like our first thing was not to say, hey, let's launch and all of a sudden make a lot of money. Like, no, we wanted to build a resource for the community because we felt that the community is underserved. And so over time, we'll build things in that make money as we provide value and understand what the community needs. And that'll look like lots of different ways. But, when we wake up in the morning and look at our data and our signups and our analytics, it's like, man, like, it fires us up like every day, because you just see the impact you're making. And, if we were this far along and we saw, gosh, people are only spending 30 seconds on our site, they're going to one page and leaving, we probably would try something else. But we're going the other direction, and it just keeps going. And it's amazing because in many different ways, we keep track of some competitors. We're seeing they're either shrinking, standing still, or barely growing. And, while we're in this space, we're going straight up. And so it's exciting. There's a lot of amazing things coming. And literally, we're just getting started. It's crazy, like how many things we're going to be building out. So yeah.
I've had the privilege of hanging with you guys in person, and actually spending quality time with you and your team, your other, people part of your crew too. And for me, this is always going to make sense. I'm nothing against, anyone from CoinMarketCap. I know the people who was a part of that team and all other stuff. This isn't shocking to me. There's a saying, don't let your talent take you to places that your character won't keep you. And for me, you guys are just in the beginning of what you're going to show all these people that are coming to LunarCRUSH and are coming into the space in general. Hopefully COVID takes care of itself and there will be a solution and everything to where, people will be able to spend more time with you in person, or, these, online stuff. But when you guys are in your conversations, it's so much fun to talk with you about different projects and how you look at certain things. No one's doing that. And so, it's just, for me personally, I've benefited from, getting away from a lot of the noise and then talking about what is the coolest part about a project, what makes this project super unique versus something else that's kind of similar.
I want
to
talk about some projects. Let's talk about some projects.
Yeah, Ryan, we also don't want to take up too much. I know at some point, could you do another 5 to 10 minutes with us?
No.
Let's do it.
All right. So he asked about it, and many others have as well. So let's talk about Zilliqa. And I'll add with Zilliqa, I'm going to be on Zill3 Thursday morning, I think, talking about some of these insights with what they're doing. So what's pretty cool about this one, they're breaking our charts. Basically, there's so much going on. So this is the 1 year social volume. Respectable interaction going on here. A couple hundred posts, and organically it's grown. I'm going to skip past the big spikes, and I'm just going to show you that it's just so crazy that even with 3,783 posts here on July 8th, it's barely registering. And so what's going on here is this project knows how to market itself. And when we talk about some of the things that are missing in crypto, great, lots of teams of brilliant engineers. Engineers don't know necessarily how to market their product. They don't know how to create a logo. They don't know how to manage their Twitter. They don't know how to write content that persuades and engages individuals. And so what I love so much what they've done is they've taken really a coordinated approach between a technology and a marketing approach. And when you look at what these spikes are, they have a product that they've launched called Social Pay. And it's more or less a rewards product that it could have many different uses. Like this was the first one on May 7th, 43,400 social posts. And sure, of course it's elevated because they were giving away free Zelle when people were posting. They just sign up, they hook up their Twitter, they hook up a wallet, and then they can request a payout. Little bits. It was like 30 cents or something.
Yep.
But when you look at that and you look at where it was and you look at the number of individuals, in fact, let's look at contributors. So you look at this and you see that it was 4,800 people. And then you look at their next campaign, you see that it was 8,000. And here we are like yesterday, 42,405 people. And so there's a lot of discussion that we've seen on Twitter. Even it's like, well, great, who cares? Of course, there's a lot of people. They're tipping. Well, great, but how many of these people had ever even heard of this product before this whole platform before this? And so when we look at this, if this spike wasn't here, these two are enormous. And, I don't find it coincidental that it keeps going straight up. I mean, this is a move from 0.004 to 0.028. And so that's enormous. I mean, that is a massive, what is that?
600.
Yeah, and even now, even after it's kind of come down a bit, we're still 238% up in 3 months. And so fascinating to see what's going on here. We can see that, over this 3-month period, we can see the individuals that are involved here. We've got Zilliqa, Crypto Guy UK, Crypto Michael, who seems to be on so many different coins, Scott Zell Warrior, Crypto Vanessa, Crypto Wizard, Colin Miles, who heads up their marketing. And so, fascinating project, lots of stuff going on there. Really excited actually to see how this pans out. So
they're at this point, they're still leading the sharding style of blockchain.
They are. They have side chains. It basically makes, I don't want to call it Ethereum, but it's a faster version of it. A lot of what they're doing, they're saying, is like Ethereum too. This project still is only $197 million market cap too. So very interesting one to watch for sure. So yeah.
He's on the move. Said Ryan's on the move.
We got some requests for
VeChain.
So we had this one's had a huge move. 3 months up 268%. To 0.16. I think at the high, I think we hit almost 0.22. So big moves here, and we've seen the community go crazy. If I want to go back just a little bit, probably becomes even more obvious. And so yeah, you see over the past 6 months, that volume has gone way up. Up to 7826 posts a day, and then now it's come back down, which I'm curious. The community is still pretty high. So I would say if you like to buy low, sell high, it's an interesting point when you consider the community is still consistently up. So another interesting one there. Another request we had was Anchor, which I believe this one uses idle computing power. Basically creates a network. It creates a cloud economy using idle processing power. This is another one we've seen over the past 3 months, gone from, we're talking 30, 23, 33 social posts a day, go up to the high here, 1160. So again, another one to watch. All of this equals over the last 3 months, 20,269 posts, which is, that's up 511% versus the previous 3 months. So, and during this period of time, the price has gone up 282%. So another one to watch there for sure. Especially we're seeing this similar pattern over the last little bit here with some of the alts. They did a big peak and they kind of trying to consolidate. Bitcoin's moved up. It seems like there's somewhat of a floor going on a lot of these alts. So another one to look at is DMM governance. So DMG. So we've had a lot of discussion and requests around this. Some of our investors, Draper Goren Holm, they're invested in this as well. It's really a new project, so it's hard to make any like longer term correlations to it. I think we just added, on June 26th, we just added it. And so we're seeing decent activity, 458 posts a day, contributors. And those 458 people posted 720 posts yesterday. And those 720 posts drove almost 489,000 engagements. So decent. It's actually, I'll be curious to see how this goes.
Did they have a public raise?
I'm sorry?
Did they have a public raise?
I actually didn't pay much attention to how they raised. Did you, Joe?
Okay. I don't know if I think they had something public, whether or not it was like a cold reach out to accredited. I don't know if they did like a, was it a 506c accredited investor only raise here, and then they probably did something like an international like Reg S where they basically allow any jurisdiction outside of the U.S. to get involved. So I don't know exactly. That's my assumption, but definitely check out their site and the white paper to learn a little bit more about what they.
I was just reading some comments about. It's funny to me sometimes. Like I don't take what people post on Twitter too seriously because I know it's funny sometimes the comments. Like I was just reading someone claiming that they put 30% of their portfolio into DMM.
Oh boy,
it's funny. It's just funny.
Yeah. John, you also had a request for LCX and reserve rights, RSR.
Wait, and we had Band and Chrome. All right, I'm just going to breeze through these names. So Band protocol. I like to refer this to almost like a mini chain link. If you look at, actually we have our about tile. It's a decentralized oracle for Web 3.0. So this is growing a lot. So this is a huge one to watch. Again, up last month, 237%. I think we actually just added it back here. So also a new project.
Yeah, we just added
generating already a lot of buzz. I mean, you look at the community itself just in the last month. I mean, we were consistently down here 20 to 40, 20 to 40. And then all of a sudden, here at the high, 688 people. So like talking about it, and those 688 people have put together over 1,000 posts in that one day earlier this month. So yeah. Interesting project. Chromia, we had a request there. There's a lot going on. It's up 162% in 3 months, or if we go back 6, it's up 177. We added it back here. It's growing. The community size keeps spiking up. So again, we'll keep watching it. This one, I believe it combines blockchain and database. Is that right? Yeah.
What's the market cap on this one?
23 million.
Okay, so still pretty small.
Yeah, definitely is. What was the other request?
RSR.
Yeah, reserve rights, RSR, LCX.
Reserve rights.
LCX.
Huge. And LCX.
Wow,
huge. Leader, in the DeFi space here. What's interesting here, they've got a dual token system. One is more of a stable coin, and the other gives rights on really how to impact the future of the project. And that's what RSR is. And so up 350%, massive. I mean, this is a typical curve. I mean, if we're going to go down this road of DeFi, I'm going to pull up Aave also, and we're going to see that it's absolutely crazy. In fact, if we go back a year on this one, it's probably not going to be fully accurate. I want to stick with 6 months. Let's go 6 months. It's up 1,015% in 6 months. And so this is the kind of crazy stuff we're seeing in DeFi. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing these communities go nuts. We're seeing them take a step back, and just immediately already they're snapping back.
Immediately.
So, Yeah, I mean, like the last 24 hours, it's like you can see Bitcoin took everyone down. It was pulling out, and all of a sudden we had that move yesterday, and all of a sudden things stopped going down, and this is some of the first ones to go back up. So
if you look at that 6-month chart though, John, it's like a lot of the DeFi projects, or just a lot of the charts that we just look very similar to this. And it's almost like, is it going to consolidate there? And are we going to have this huge next leg up? I mean, look at the chart. What is that? June, where it kind of did the same thing. If we're looking at this same chart back then, it looks like there was some sort of consolidation and a pretty sizable leg up. I think we're at the inflection point now where is it going to consolidate, continue sideways? Are we going to move down? I mean, obviously, like, I'm just saying the 3 directions it could move, but it does look like there is a point where it could be some sort of consolidation there. And so we had a question that said, what's the financial advice for the next hour with Asian market opening? What's your financial advice, John? You're on the record.
With the Asian market opening.
I would say that we did see Bitcoin move up earlier than this time period when it did make that move up. So it was like a 3 or 4 a.m. move in Singapore, which I thought normally it would take a little bit more time when the market would open a little bit later in the day. But we're not seeing that move, at least in Bitcoin right now. We're seeing the alts continue to move. And right now, it's already 9 a.m. in Seoul. It's 8 a.m. in Singapore, 8 a.m. in Hong Kong, 8 a.m. in Taipei.
My advice with it all opening up is that we were talking about this earlier, Joe, and I was saying, what are the rich people doing right now? And I would say, look at what gold is doing right now and why. And look at why rich people are redoing their homes, their multi-million-dollar homes, to make them worth even more millions. And why? In the middle of a pandemic, why are they doing that? And you look at, I would pay attention to that, not just with the Asian market opening. I would pay attention to that every day, because as the U.S. government keeps endlessly printing money, it makes all of these assets that one can own, I don't want to say more valuable, but almost the same value, but worth more. I'll put it that way, because the value of the dollar is depreciating, and it will continue to do so as they flood the market with dollars. Yeah. So, and this is a bigger topic, but maybe that's a longer discussion. But I think
well, we are hitting the 80-minute mark, which is Ryan's time for a half marathon. So we should probably wrap it up. But Ryan, I want to just really appreciate you coming on, man. And I mean, definitely give us one kind of piece of advice, or one thing you do in the morning to kind of get yourself going each day, or just one little tidbit that everyone can take with them. And then also obviously where to find you.
Cool. I'm going to soak this in. I'm very grateful that I get to come on to LunarCRUSH, hang out with 2 guys that have really inspired me, seeing you guys grow. To be in line with what you want me to say, I am very aggressive with 415, someone from the Bay, but I'm very aggressive with my company. The company I keep matters most to me. So, I'm very cognitive the night before what I'm going to be doing the next day. My day doesn't start in the morning. It starts right before I go to bed. And if you're stressed out about your life, fucking change it, do what you got to do. But, I actually put myself in a position now. I left real estate. I wasn't happy about not being in charge of my life. I pursued getting back into fitness so I can be happy with who I am and what I'm doing. And now I'm in a position to where I look forward to what I'm going to be doing the next day. So I wake up prepared. The day does not crash into my head. I wake up already knowing what I'm going to get done that day.
That's fantastic advice.
I make it just a little harder so that what I did yesterday is now. So find me on Twitter. Find me in the LunarCRUSH threads. Find me wherever. Ryan Calder.
You're probably influential on a couple of coins over there, so for sure.
Love it.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone that was listening. We had a great audience today. It was one of the biggest we've had, so I'm excited to let this thing going into the real world. So appreciate it. I'm going to end it now to everyone, but thank y'all.
Cool. See ya.